Hello again. In Chaos of Cults by Karel von Baalen. Now he's dealing with Theosophy. This is the fourth chapter, page 62. Theosophy, or divine wisdom, is the apostate child of Spiritism mixed with Buddhism. It is far more complicated and more intricate than Spiritism. At the same time, its world and life view is more complete and fascinating. Here's its history. Helena Petrovna, a Russian girl at the age of 17, married N.B. Blavatsky in 1848. She deserted him after 2 months and led a wandering life for 25 years. She flitted between Paris, London, Russia, Greece, the United States, Mexico, and India. She became a spiritistic medium early in life and for 10 years was under the control of a spirit calling himself John King. In 1857, Madame Blavatsky, Madame is in quotation marks here, tried to found at Cairo a spiritistic society but failed. Coming to New York in 1873, she sought cooperation with mediums, but just then so much fraud was exposed that she wearied of the spiritism of the day. In 1875, she founded the Theosophical Society in New York, aided by Colonel Olcott, a colonel in the Civil War. She said of it, "It is the same spiritualism, but under another name." In 1882, Blavatsky and Olcott visited India together and routed out their system by adding Hindu and Buddhist elements. Blavatsky died in 1891, aged 60 years. Her greatest successor was Mrs. Annie Besant, who lived from 1847 to 1933, daughter of an English minister and later wife of one. She left her husband in 1873, and after challenging the doctrine of the Church of England, she identified herself with free thought and radical political movements. Then, suddenly, Mrs. Besant was converted to Theosophy. She became a scholar, a public speaker, and voluminous writer. She died on September 20th, 1933, in her 86th year. Her outstanding claim was that her adopted son, Krishnamurti, also called Krishnaji, was the new Messiah, or the reincarnation of the world teacher. This she discovered on December 28, 1925. In 1926, Baron Philip van Pallandt gave his large estate at Ommen, Netherlands, to be the headquarters of the new Messiah. Here, annual conferences were held, at first with as many as 2,000 attendant disciples, while in 28 there were 1,750 women and 800 men. Some of these ladies slept with the picture of Krishnamurti under their pillows. At Crotona, California, the American headquarters of Theosophy, Krishnaji announced on November 20th, 1931, that he had become convinced that he was not the Messiah and refused to receive further adoration. "I am not an actor. I refuse to wear the robes of a Messiah, so I am again free of all possessions. I have nothing except my creed," he said. Since then, he has lived in retirement, giving lectures occasionally. This is written in 1962. Mrs. Besant died in 1933 and was succeeded by George S. Arundel, who upon his departure was followed by C. Jinara Jadasa, the president of the society since 1945. He is a prolific writer. Among his works is The Golden Book of the Theosophical Society, published upon the 50th anniversary of the society at Adyar, 1925. Here's the teachings. Theosophy, called by L.W. Rogers, quote, a religion, a philosophy, a science, and yet, accurately speaking, none of these, for it is truly all of them, and yet something beyond them, end of quote. Can here be described only in briefest outline. That is, Theosophy can only be described in briefest outline. Since the doctrine of God is always determinative for an entire system, we shall first inquire into Theosophy's very complex ideas concerning God. Theosophy, like its prototype, Buddhism, which was originally a reaction against the polytheism of India, is on the whole remarkably silent or evasive in its statements concerning God. It is pantheistic and teaches an impersonal God. God is all, and all is God. Over and over again, Theosophic writers speak of the unity of all life. From this principle, considered fundamental, follow many doctrines. If everything that is God, and this God is thought of as universal life, the limitless consciousness, the eternal love, the very source and heart of all that is, it follows that every form of activity is conceived of as wave after wave of this life pushing its way up through matter. Given this, we do not marvel that all religions are esteemed fundamentally one. There may be different emphases, but the brotherhood of religions is the first plank in the platform of the Theosophical Society. Every religion has a note of its own, a color of its own, that it gives for the helping of the world. Blended together, they give the whiteness of truth. Blended together, they give a mighty chord of perfection. These are all the words of Annie Besant. To be sure, this impersonal God, from which all religions emanate, when occasionally described, is spoken of as a Trinity. But this is a Trinity in name only, for it is a threefold manifestation of power or will, wisdom, and activity, to quote Mrs. Besant. Elsewhere, she expresses this thought as follows, quote, Trinity of divine beings, one as God, three as manifested powers. Worse than this, we are told that there is a fourth person, or in some religions, a second Trinity, feminine, the mother. This is that which makes manifestation possible, that which eternally in the one is the root of limitation and division, and which, when manifested, is called matter. This is the divine not self, that is capital N, capital S, not self, the divine matter, the manifested nature. These words, these nouns have capital letters. Regarded as one, later on, she is regarded as triple, by the way. She is the fourth, making possible the activity of the three, the field of their operations by virtue of her infinite divisibility, at once the handmaid of the Lord, and also his mother, yielding of her substance to form his body, the universe, when overshadowed by his power. And these are all direct quotes from Theosophical literature. Let us give one more taste of this. The second person is revealed by interaction between her, divine matter, and the third person of the Trinity, and thus becomes the mediator. Hence, the second person of the Trinity of Spirit is ever dual. He is the one who clothes himself in matter, in whom the twin halves of deity appear in union, not as one. Are we all straight now? We shall not vex the reader with more of a similar nature. The above may suffice to show that the Theosophic conception of the Godhead is widely different than that held in the Holy Catholic Christian Church. It is impersonal. It lies at the root of all existence. It manifests itself as power, as wisdom, and as activity when considered as a spiritual entity. Besides, it also manifests itself as divine matter, which is the necessary condition for its manifestation. The second person, wisdom, is dual in nature, spiritual as reason, material as love. The Cosmology. Theosophy, considering matter eternal, reckons the cycles of the universe by the millions. We are at present in the fifth subrace, or subrace. I think they usually spell it with italics. With a hyphen, but subrace here is one word. That is S-U-B-R-A-C-E. The fifth subrace of the third human root race, and even a subrace goes on for millennia without any visible changes, preparing for a new subrace. The present subrace, called the Teutonic, is a subrace of the Aryan root race. The latter has been preceded by the Atlantean, and this in turn by the Lemurian race. This was the first that can truly be called human, as it was preceded by semi-animal races. The proper history of man, according to Blavatsky, began no less than 18 million years ago. As a result of clairvoyant investigation, that is, getting in contact with devas and mahatmas, Theosophists published maps of the world as it was 800,000 years ago, and again as it appeared 11,500 years ago. We are told of the Atlantean race living on the Atlantean continent 800,000 years ago. This continent formed a belt around the Earth, stretching almost uninterruptedly from Mexico right across the present Atlantic Ocean onto Egypt and Asia. An older continent, the Lemurian, once stretched from the Indian Ocean to Australia. From the same occult sources of information, Theosophists know that during the Atlantean period, very early immigrations resulted in the grand civilization of Egypt, which was in progress long before the time assumed by modern historians. Of this early civilization, little is left beyond the pyramids because of the great convulsion, which is said to have taken place 11,500 years ago. At the time of the Atlantean continent, only an island was left, about as large as all modern Europe minus Russia. Owing to a cataclysm, this island subsided with terrific suddenness, and the sea, which then covered what is now the desert of Sahara, was driven eastward so as to completely deluge Egypt. In support of this clairvoyant assertion, a Mexican document is proudly pointed to, which was translated in 1893. It's in itself an ancient manuscript of immense antiquity, and it says that the catastrophe took place 8,060 years before the writing of this book. 10 countries, it says, were torn asunder in the convulsion and sank with their 64 million inhabitants. Now, all of this, by the way, became vastly popular, reasserted in the early parts of the New Age movement. In the late 60s and 70s, I was reading books on not only the Atlantis legends and myths, but Lemuria and Mu, the lost continent of Mu, made popular by a writer called James Churchward. I'll put in a link to how I left the Watchtower and landed safely. That is, I learned the hard way not to trust in those that are not experts. And I learned some years later to trust in the experts, that is, the Bible scholars, for far more accurate and dependable information than Jehovah's Witnesses give you, and also you get from occultists and theosophers. So I'll put that on your screen, how I left the Watchtower, landed safely, and also the related playlist. He gave teachers. I think that has something like 1,900 videos on that list. See you next time.